But more than 2 years of civil war have ravaged Sudan and killed tens of thousands. But while the More than 2 years of civil war have ravaged Sudan and killed tens of thousands. But while the conflict rages on, the situation on the battlefield has entered a new phase.
While the RSF had the upper hand in the conflict, especially around Khartoum, where they had besieged many military bases early on in the conflict, things began to change around September of last year. And that's when we saw the Sudanese armed forces, the SAF, launch a major ground offensive in Khartoum.
Khartoum returned under the control of the Sudanese armed forces in March this year. The SAF now continues on the offensive, notably due to a massive recruitment campaign and new alliances with various armed groups. But the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, are still holding some ground.
For much of the conflict, the SAF had a monopoly of force in aerial combat. Since the RSF has gained access to further drones, this has enabled them to reach farther afield and strike SAF bases in infrastructure in areas like Port Sudan. So while the SAF have certainly gone on the offensive, there are some considerations here with the RSF additional capacity and these new alliances, which are really shaping the conflict in 2025.
On the ground, the RSF are also known for directly attacking civilians. Although the SAF and armed groups also target the civilian population, the RSF accounts for 2/3 of all such incidents.
Civilians have paid a horrific price for this war. Sudan has been the deadliest country in Africa for civilians each quarter since the war broke out. With that said, in 2025, we have seen a drop in the number of civilian fatalities compared to last year. And much of that is due to the SAF takeover of certain areas like Khartoum and Al Jazeera, where previously the fighting did affect a number of civilians. And as contestation has decreased, so has the impact on civilians.
Some who sought refuge abroad have even started returning to calmer areas like Khartoum. But the war is far from over. Observers note that the fighting is shifting to new, different areas in the country, and an end to the violence is not yet in sight.
States are now 8 migrants deported by the United States are now in the care of authorities in South Sudan's capital, Juba, officials have said. That's after the men from Cuba, Laos, Mexico, Myanmar, Sudan, Vietnam and South Sudan lost a legal battle to halt their transfer to the politically unstable country.
Arrived at Juba International Airport.
A spokesperson for South Sudan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation said authorities were screening the deportees and ensuring their safety and well-being.
This development comes in the context of ongoing bilateral engagement between the Republic of South Sudan and the United States of America.
We found a nation that was willing to accept custody of these vicious illegal aliens.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security had described the 8 as violent criminals.
So they can never hurt another American victim.
In Juba,
We found a nation that was willing to accept custody of these vicious illegal aliens.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security had described the 8 as violent criminals.
So they can never hurt another American victim.
In Juba, some have questioned why non-South Sudanese deportees are being accepted at all.
Actually, they have criminal records, yes.
Nelson Loong is concerned for his safety.
Even to the country from where they're deported, they're dangerous individuals.
The fate of the migrants had become a flashpoint in a fight over the legality of President Donald Trump's campaign to deter immigration through high-profile deportations to third countries. South Sudan has long been dangerous, even for local residents. The US State Department advises citizens not to travel there due to violent crime and armed conflict. The men had argued their deportations would violate the US Constitution, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Advises citizens not to travel there due to violent crime and armed conflict. The men had argued their deportations would violate the US Constitution, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment.